Hi, welcome to Project Knit. I'm Julie, and today I'm going to talk to you about yarn, specifically acrylic yarn. So I'm going to make this into a bit of a series. So in some future videos I'll talk about different materials and types of yarns. So if you've got any specific questions, if you just drop them in the comment below, then I will pick it up. And if you want to learn more about yarn, then just drop me a subscribe and you can follow through this series. So acrylic yarn, what is it? It is a man-made yarn. So in the UK we really use wool and yarn interchangeably, and probably more wool. When I was growing up we referred to all yarn as wool. That was just what it was. With obviously wool coming from a sheep, and we just refer to everything as that, but acrylic yarn is actually a man-made fibre. It can also be in mix, so sometimes you get a mix of like wool and acrylic, for example, and so it can be mixed in, but they'll always have to state that on the band of what it is. So what is it with acrylic yarn? So in a lot of like Facebook groups and stuff like that I'm in, it seems to get a bit of a bad rep sometimes. So really, what's the beef with the acrylic yarn? People either love it or they hate it. It's very much the marmite of yarns, and it's everywhere. It is very popular. So the reason that some people might not like it is it does contain plastic and being part of that man-made fibre, and I think from an environmental reason we usually try to avoid using plastic as much as possible, so that's why some people would not really like to use it and would prefer to use all just natural fibres such as cotton or wool. However, there are quite a lot of pros that come with it. So it's very affordable. This is kind of on a pro and a con list almost, because it's very affordable. It comes in a lot of different ranges of prices, and some people will think of it as being like a cheap alternative, and therefore low quality. Now it really varies a lot from one brand to another, and the acrylic yarn that you pick up in the pound shop is not going to be the same quality as, you know, like a decent branded yarn that you buy. One example I've got is this particular one. This is Serdar's Snuggly Baby, comes in loads of different colours. It's really like smooth. You don't get any of that kind of roughness that you get with some of the cheap ones. This is the top selling baby yarn out there, so you know it's not like a cheap nasty alternative, if you see what I mean, but you certainly can pick up ones that are very cheap and great for practicing with, but maybe not something that you'd want to make a big jumper out of. So it's easy to find. Every wool shop will have acrylic yarn. It's just everywhere, and it's, yeah, as I say, it's not too expensive to be able to pick up. Really suitable for some people that might be allergic to wool. So some people actually find wool quite uncomfortable or might be allergic to it, and therefore they might prefer to use a man-made fibre. It's warm. It's a really warm product, so it makes great jumpers and scarves and hats and things like that. It's really easy to care for. So you can put it in the washing machine. You can usually, obviously, double check it on the band of the yarn. You can usually put it into the tumble dryer as well, on a cool tumble dryer. So it's just really easy to just wash and use. If you're making things like things for babies, for example, they do tend to throw up on things. So, you know, it would be good for it to be something that's easy to clean. And then for me, when I'm making things, I've just made a really lovely jumper out of it. I'm definitely a fan. And one of the things for me is the fact that I can just chuck it in the washing machine, because otherwise I would wear something and then it will sit waiting to be washed for potentially months, to be honest with you, and then I just feel guilty about it as well. So nothing good comes out of that. You might be great at hand washing stuff and it might not bother you, but for me it's not my favourite thing. And also it's vegan, so if you are, you know, making something for a friend that's vegan, you do not want to be using wool. You can use an acrylic yarn, and it's safe to use for them. So great to use on baby clothes, as I said, jumpers, hats, scarves, really any of those things. Things that I would not necessarily use it on are like more summery items. So if you get like a summery top or like a thinner jumper that you wanted to make, you probably want to make that with something like cotton, because it's quite a warm material. And also don't use it to make something that it needs to be heat proof. So I would avoid coasters, but especially avoiding so in America they call them pot holders. We don't really use them in the UK at all, but I guess it's kind of like an oven glove type thing. So yeah, the plastic in them can actually kind of melt. It doesn't melt until it gets about 200 degrees, so it's quite a high temperature before it melts. But yeah, you should avoid using it in something that really needs to be not that hot. So yeah, that's the only restriction really. In the same way, don't put a hot iron on it, don't put it in a hot tumble dryer, because yeah, it doesn't want to have that level of heat, but your kind of normal everyday heats are going to be fine. So I hope that you have found that useful, and you know, learn a little bit more about acrylic yarn, and let me know if you are a lover or a hater. Bye bye.